Yo, what's going on?
Going on?
Gotta clean your
Oh,
your
yeah.
webcam.
Yeah.
A little spit on it.
Yeah.
There you go. That's looking
Yeah.
good. I
Good
couldn't
man.
I couldn't see it with the fogged up camera and the camo shirt. It's like just a floating head.
Yeah. Great lighting in here.
Yeah. What's going
Yeah.
on, man? 1 week post show now. Jeez, eh?
Yeah. It's pretty wild, actually. It feels like it was way longer ago for some reason.
I know. Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah.
Strange. But no, man, I'm good. It's been a week, obviously, right? Like, it's very interesting. Like, when you have expectations, and then something like that happens, like what happened to me, like,
Yeah.
you just basically like the worst like thing, like in a sense, like that, something bad happened that could have been avoided, and then it affected the look at prejudging, which is just like unfortunate, and it's not what you want in your pro debut. But I had about an hour of being like upset and kind of like angry about that, and more just about the fact that it was something that could have been avoided, and it led to me like not showing my best package for the first time being on stage.
Yeah.
But then it's a learning experience, right? And it's like so much information collected, and just made a lot of like rookie mistakes that I kind of feel like I knew better, but I just still just kind of like did them. It's weird. It's like I was in this weird trance of like poor decision making. And then and yeah, it happened. But now, for me at this point, like I'm just, my mindset is super positive and super just like, I feel like I had this urgency back that I was kind of missing the last 4 or 5 weeks of the Toronto prep, and
Man, yeah,
just feel
that's
motivated. Yeah, just to
yeah.
go to Vancouver, right?
No, that's good. I mean, yeah, I think we should just get right into that, man, because it's like obviously that's a big thing, it's a big deal, man. Like for your pro debut, having those expectations, you want to fucking kill it, man. And like you know that you belong in the freaking like up there with the fucking top call out, man. Like you know you belong there. You've put in the work
Yeah,
for enough time. You know you're gonna be there. But sometimes things happen, and sometimes, like you said, you make those mistakes. Let's talk about that, man. Like going back to going into the show, what did you do? What did you think you did wrong? What did your coach say? And let's get kind of more specific about these rookie mistakes and what you learned from it, because I think it's so valuable.
well, man, I think we were like in a perfect spot, like when we got to Toronto, right? I hit a new low like the day I got there. I was 269. I was like peeled out of my head, right?
Yeah.
I could barely breathe. Like I was just so like just dead. So like right away we started pushing food, and then like every day, like I was waking up just like a pound or two heavier, but like not really holding my weight. Um, but like I was still going to bed around like 280 every night, and like I was pretty full by the time I would go to bed, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, everything was super smooth, man. And then night before the show, I just remember my body was just like burning through everything. Like I don't know if it was just like the stress, all the moving around, and just like I had a client competing in the pro qualifier the day before, so like that just had me like right. And but we ate, man. Like I did, Friday and Saturday I was doing burger meals, like lots of steak, shit tons of carbs. Like we were eating lots. So
Yeah.
um, and then Saturday came around, and we were planning for a 12 o'clock prejudge.
Yeah.
You know, we were really kind of set on that, and we were eating for that, and we were manipulating water for that. But one thing we did that in hindsight we definitely didn't need to do because of how fast everything was happening in my body was we took a diuretic the night before the show,
Yeah.
right? And we didn't cut water, but we pulled it back like a decent amount. I was still drinking like 1 200 mils with every meal. But then of course, like just like most shows, like we kind of get rushed backstage. And then when I got backstage, like I kind of like to look in the morning. Like I posted a few stories, and I was like, okay, like I'm pretty full, like I'm super dry and I'm really lean. And I was like, this is good, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then kind of being like, okay, we're getting close to stage time. Let's pull back the food a little bit. I want to keep the waist tight. And I know I mentioned this to you a bunch of times too about like I was really nervous about sweating on stage, right? Because
Yeah.
it's something I had issues with before, right? So, and because I guess I also thought we were fuller, or like my coach and I kind of thought we were fuller than I actually was. Um, And so yeah, so I guess between that, pulling water, taking the diuretic, not eating as much as I probably needed to going into the show, and then sitting backstage for like an hour and a half and just like not really eating or drinking, just sitting there. I just remember like when I got up to go on for prejudging, man, like my legs were just like heavy. Like
Yeah.
it was like that kind of hard to bend my knees sort of thing. So obviously everything was very dry and my muscles were not very like elastic, like, and then so at that point I started drinking a bit of water and stuff, but I just knew I was like, fuck, it's kind of too late, right? So I just tried to like move around and pump up, but even when I was trying to pump up, like I just felt like dead. Like I literally just felt dead. And then when I went to walk on stage, it was like almost hard to walk up the stairs. Like that's how my legs felt, right? So when I go out for the introductory, right away, like I can't even tell if I'm hitting my legs. So I was like looking at the pictures and videos after, like I was engaging them. They definitely weren't as like obviously hard and big and full as they could have been. Noticed a lot in my hamstrings too. My hamstrings like seemed pretty flat. Like I did not have that hamstring drop at all that I usually have, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that just kind of was overwhelming because I'm like out on stage for the first time. I can't really feel much. It gets in my head, right? So I kind of like messed up my front relax a little bit. But then I just like what kind of just went like right into the front double. And like luckily, like the routine was kind of just like muscle memory.
Yeah.
So I got through the routine pretty good. But like, when I watched it back, like the front poses were actually like pretty good, luckily. But like the back poses, especially like my hamstrings, were like I couldn't even engage them. Like my legs were just so fucked, right? So yeah, that hurt me, man. I think it was a combination of like being in front of a bunch of judges that haven't seen me before, coming out off, coming out a little jittery because of that. And yeah, it just happened, right?
Yeah.
One thing though that I'm happy about was that I know I got noticed because even though I was in the last call out, they did move me like closer. So like they put me like up a placing and stuff like that. So I was glad they were looking. Um, but I will talk about this now just because we're going through it. So
Yeah.
obviously I came off stage, knew I was flat as hell. And I was like, at least I can come back for finals. I know I'll get on stage. Like, let's just come back fucking huge. So I go back thinking we're going to have like 2 or 3 hours. So I get 3 doubles, a large fries, slam 2 liters of water, and eat a kai kai cookie. I literally like just get that down. And next thing I look at my phone and the wheelchair guys are on stage.
I know.
And then my coach is like, dude, everyone's back here. Like, so I like just run back basically. And then immediately, once I get my tan and everything fixed, like I just start pumping up because I'm just like, I could pump up for like 2 hours right now with everything I just ate. So I don't know if you remember seeing me do, but I was just banging out push-ups and
Yeah.
lateral raises like my life depended on it. And then it felt great because then I felt like big and I like my upper body felt like hot. And like I took a video, I posted a reel of like right before we went back down for finals. And like you could see the capillaries in my skin like coming out. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
and my legs came back. So as soon as I went on stage for like the confirmation round, like I just had that one round and I was just like smashing poses like as aggressively as I could, just to try to like show the judges, be like, hey, like, this is me 7 pounds heavier. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
man.
really quick, right? So, and I did have a lot of people say to me that they noticed a huge difference just in that amount of time. So realistically, I probably just needed to drink like water.
Yeah.
Like it's like that food clearly didn't hit in that amount of time.
You were just dehydrated as hell.
I think I was loaded with carbs. I think I just needed to have more water in there. And I think if I had to spend all Saturday morning just like drinking water, I think or Sunday morning, I think I would have had a different look, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what went down for prejudging, man.
Damn. So yeah. So what was going through your mind then at the end? Like obviously after coming back for finals feeling that much better, did you feel like okay, at least now I showed up better and I was able to kind of rectify that? Because I know how it feels when you go up for a prejudging and you don't look the way you want to look. It is a horrible, horrible feeling.
Yeah. And I mean, I felt a lot better. Like I was pretty pumped up because, and especially when I got the feedback from people. And then luckily I had some friends that were sitting close that took some pictures of me.
Yeah.
And I saw pictures, and there were some of the ones I posted, like a little collage. It was like a most muscular and ab and thigh.
Yeah.
And I'm just like blasting. Like my
Yeah.
condition looks way better. So like that was just what I needed. I just
Yeah,
needed to see that, like, okay. And that still obviously wasn't my best because that was like a band-aid on a fucking, you
yeah. There's
know,
only so much you can do at that point. But
yeah, right. So, but now, I mean, of course I would have rather placed better at Toronto, but like say if I got seventh or eighth, that's probably the best I was going to do in that show, right? In my opinion, seeing how everybody looked like in the fourth, fifth, and sixth spot, maybe a little better, who knows? But what would have changed, right?
yeah,
Like, so now at least I made these mistakes early. And also the fact that like that's my first prep in like a whole new body. Like I
yeah,
have 10 pounds of muscle on for my last showing, like if not more, and a year and a half has passed. So, you know, we just I know exactly what not to do
yeah,
for the next show. So like now I feel like I'm in a really good position just to like I know what weight I got to show up in Vancouver at. Like I have a way better idea how much I need to eat before, the show. And I obviously know that depending on where my weight is at, whether or not I should use a diuretic or what to do with water for the next show, right? So
yeah.
that's the only thing I'm really thinking about now is just to take away, the positive from that experience, right?
Yeah, and that's the best thing about it really is that you're able to collect all this data because if you fuck things up, you know what to do next time. If you had just nailed it perfectly, it's like okay, you have an idea, but realistically, you're not able to just recreate that every single time to peak the same way. It's really more about learning lessons about your body than it is about having like a formula, right? Because formulas you can't recreate them, especially if you're doing shows back to back. Your body changes. If you're doing shows 1 year to the next, like you said, you're in a different body. So there's no way to have like a peaking formula. And a lot of the coaches that they have formulas or they have things figured out scientifically, it's all bullshit. Because you basically you just go meal by meal and hour by hour, and you try to make the best decisions. But there's no scientific way to say this is how you peak for a show. You just can't do that. It's not
Yeah,
possible,
yeah,
right? So that's why it is hard to do. And even when you have a coach there with you, it's like, well, you're trying to give him feedback and he's trying to use the data that's there, but you haven't collected it all yet because you haven't got on stage yet to actually see what the final result is. So now that you have that, you can go into the Vancouver Pro really confident that you can really now bring your best. So that's
yeah,
great, man.
yeah. And even now, like, and it's interesting, right? Because you're away from the stage for a while, like you just forget like how your body feels. Like I
Mhm.
almost like now I know what full feels like.
Yeah,
Now I know what flat feels like.
yeah,
Right. So now I'm really going to be able to judge how I feel and make decisions on that because I was feeling really flat like all week, and it's something I was communicating, but you know, we were eating and we were drinking, and then I was the one who was imperative on cutting water,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So like I'm not blaming anybody,
yeah,
right? It was a team effort. We agreed on every decision, and it just like exactly what happened is what I said what happened. So
yeah,
but yeah, and it's good too because even now, like from a posing standpoint, like I'm already working on what I need to fix there. We've already made some corrections. Like I'm working with my posing coach today. So and like I kind of feel like I had the cobwebs off, from like just like getting on stage and getting under the lights again and just going through the process of like standing on the line, going through some call outs, like so I think that also is going to be a big impact like for Vancouver as well. Just me just walking on stage with a lot more confidence. And I know because I'm gonna feel better and like actually, peak properly, hopefully, that will just like add to that, right?
yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
good, man. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's kind of like how I felt at New York, and like I think since I turned pro, I feel like I fucked up every show in similar ways because it's like, well, for a lot of them, I was kind of prepping myself and like just making the mistakes very similar to what you did yourself, and I know it's like you make the choice, right? Like you tell your coach or you tell yourself like I need to be drier, or you make that choice up in your mind, like okay, like I need to be fucking shredded. I don't want to sweat on stage, so I'm making this decision and the coach kind of goes along with it because obviously they're using your feedback, right? And you kind of are delusional at that point, right? Because you've been like you were saying, like you've been when you're dieting for 16 weeks, you've been flat for so long that you don't know what full is. You don't know what it feels like to be stage ready because you've never been there yet. You haven't been there for like 2 years. So you can't remember exactly what it feels like. All you remember is when you go into the gym and you get a pump. But that's not the pump that you're bringing to the stage. That's a flat pump. That's not, you might look good for like a couple of minutes when you're at the gym, but then boom, it's faded, gone. And you're back to being flat again. So it's this idea of like, well, what am I going to feel like to be the most confident to go on stage? And I never felt like that before until this time, because every time I always feel like I'm a little off or I'm a little anxious or something's off or this and that. I'm in my head and all this shit. And maybe I could have done this. Maybe we should do that. Nope, now we're on stage. It's too late. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's a really, really hard thing to do to peak for a show. And of course, now we're at the level where we put even more pressure on ourselves than we ever had before. So that plays a factor because the psychology of it changes the physiology of it, and the physiology of it changes the biology. And now there's all these cascading events, and there's a million different hormones. And really, when it comes down to it, is you have to feel like you're at your best, and you have to feel that confidence going on stage, like, yeah, this is it, I'm here, I've arrived. And for me, I actually did feel like that to a certain extent because I was fucking scared as hell that I would even make it to the stage, and I was scared as hell that my fucking bowels would just hold up, that I wouldn't have to, like, literally, I was like, my worst fear was like if I'm on stage and all of a sudden like I have the urge to go to the washroom, like what the fuck am I going to do? And I just try to keep pushing that away and just keep telling myself like whatever happens, I'm going to be my best. Whatever the fuck happens, I'm going to be my best. And somehow, some way, it came together. But there was no certainty at all, and there's no certainty in bodybuilding at all until finally you get that placing at the end. That's the only time where there's certainty. Even after prejudging, you could be in the first call out, you could be in the last call out, but things can change. You could think you're doing better. You could think you could be in first place, and then you get second. You think you're in second place, and then you get first. There's a million different combinations of things that could happen. And at pro shows, I don't know if our listeners know this, but most of the time, prejudging and finals are both judged, and then you're going to get the combination score of both. Which means once prejudging is over, you still have to be on, and you have to maintain that look or get better for the finals.
And dude, that's so true because my final score was better than my prejudging score.
Yeah.
I
See?
was six. I was someone actually put me up a placing
Yeah.
for finals, which I thought was like crazy. I was like, look at these guys judging the last call out in the nighttime. I was like, so me now that McDonald's was worth something.
They're
Yes.
they're going hard, those judges. They're taking that shit seriously because this
And,
is
I,
like
and
this is the
and
big
that
things,
is,
right?
but that's phenomenal to see as an athlete, man. Like
Yeah.
just literally just for me to see that 1 point difference, like whoever that judge was, like shout out dog,
Yeah.
because
100%.
that means nothing to nobody else, but that means a lot to me, man. Just that someone just noticed that I got a little bit better. Like, you know what I mean?
And you know what they were saying? And they're like, yo, you see that guy? He's good. He came in good. Look at this. I'm putting him up. And the other
Yeah.
judges are like, oh shit, okay, we're looking at him now.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you get that
Exactly.
recognition there, and you got recognized, right? And that's what we want. We want to get recognition from the judges.
Well, I think regardless, I got recognized because I've had so many people say to me, just like, even though people say they're like, listen, I know you were off, but you look fucking huge. like,
That's it,
like,
dude. Yeah.
I don't think anyone could ignore my size. I think it was just like the look just couldn't beat the guys that were in front of me because they were fuller and harder and shit like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, my structure was there.
Yeah.
So, that's it. But dude, yeah. So going back to you, man, like, because I remember, like you just saying, like where your mind was. Like I remember having a thought when I was sitting next to you at prejudging, and I was like, he right now is where I was when I won my pro card. Like I just remember being backstage, like so calm, in my element, like just like in absolute flow, and then like went out on stage and killed it. And that's literally what happened to you, man. Like
Yeah.
you were fucking there. You guys came on, and like your physique, man, looked just so clean and polished. Like your physique didn't look stressed. Like it
Yeah.
looked like it was just like no water, like no fat. Like here's a fucking anatomy chart of Robin Strand. Like that's what it looked like. It was fucking phenomenal, man. I was so happy for you when you got that first call out, dude. It was like that made what was happening to me so much easier when like you were killing it. Like I was fucking so pumped for you, man.
No, I appreciate that, man, honestly, a lot, because it was a hard prep, man. Even getting to the stage, like I said, I didn't know if I was gonna make it. And yeah, I've started talking about this more now that I have like this confidence to be more vulnerable, because I was actually scared to even like talk about getting an injury. I was scared to even talk about having colitis, because I was like, I don't want to put that out there and manifest it to be worse than it is. I truly, I didn't want to be that bodybuilder who drops out of a show because of something happening to him, because it happens all the time. It's like, and then it's on the news. It's like the bodybuilding news. It's okay. Well, Buddy Johansson dropped out because of colitis, and it's like, okay, fuck, okay, well, he was looking okay. Let's see what he does next year. Or, hey, this guy sustained an injury. Okay, is that the end of his career? And I'm like, I just don't want to even put that out there, man, because I'm dealing with it on the inside. But I somehow knew that I could work through it. So it was like the first time in my life that I was so vulnerable that I had no choice but to not keep it inside anymore. And even though I didn't put it out there publicly, I reached out and I was vulnerable with like my support system. Like, like I was able to be like, hey, I need help because I can't deal with this on my own anymore. This stuff is serious enough, and I feel like it's traumatic enough that like if I keep it inside me, then I'm not gonna make it. So I started just reaching out to people and getting that support and telling people like I'm struggling, I'm having a hard time, and this. And then what I did was I did more inner work than I've ever done before, because I had no choice. I was forced into a corner where it's like, okay, now that I use this term because I just read a book called Inner Gold. I've put my gold onto everybody else to the point where I'm like, I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you, and I need you. And they're like, yeah, okay, we got you. But at the same time, I knew like I can't pester these people every day. I can't just be like, hey man, I'm having a hard day again. And they're like, yeah, obviously, dude, like you're fucked up. Like, so at,
Yeah.
at, at some point, once I was vulnerable with them, I kind of just had to let them show up when they were able to. And then for me to, when I'm on my own, then to not be like, oh, I'm feeling really anxious. I got to reach for my phone and text someone, because I started feeling like I was going to start doing that, because I would get the anxiety, or I'd get the feelings of the uncomfortableness of like, oh my God, is this the end? Or am I going to make it? And like, no one has the answer for you. No one's going to be able to tell you, yeah, dude, you're going to be your best. Don't worry about it. Like if they said that, they'd be lying to you, and they'd be lying, and it wouldn't matter anyway. It wouldn't help you feel better. So I was like, all right, what do I do? Okay, start meditating more. So 3 times a day, before the gym, after the gym, before bed, in the morning, 3, 4 times a day. And I'm getting into breath work, and I'm breathing, and I'm doing types of breath work like breath holds, and I'm doing stuff that I wanted to do before, but I never really had like that urgency to do that. So now I'm there, and I'm spending more time doing that stuff. It's like now this is something that's part of my identity. I do this stuff to help me get through. I do this stuff, and it's helping me. It's making me feel better. I'm going, and I'm listening to what is this inner dialogue, because right now it's a negative one. So that's not helpful, because a negative inner dialogue it's gonna destroy me. It's gonna end me. So I have to flip that, and I'm learning now new ways, new tools to change that, without going back into my old destructive habits. That was the most important thing. Is what would I do if I was stressed out before? It's like, well, I'm gonna go and like fucking reach for some drugs, or I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do some things that are gonna make things worse. Essentially, short term better, long term worse. Now this time, not an option anymore. I have to go short term uncomfortable, long term better. So that's kind of what I did, and fucking hell, man, I was surprised. I was so surprised that at one point, once I discovered that I could do this on my own and with the support and with the combination of these things, not just always relying on people, not just relying on external comfort and sources of getting things through, but now relying on myself to be like, hey, man, I'm going to be my best no matter what happens. I won't fucking quit. I will never quit. Try me. Let's see what else you got. Let's see how dark we can go. Because And then it got worse, and it got so much worse. And I was just like, oh shit, am I gonna lose it right now? And one night I remember, and I have to talk about this because it's helpful for me to talk about, and it might be helpful for listeners to hear this, is when I had the third colitis flare up. It was so bad that I was not able to control my bowels anymore. So I'd be in the kitchen and I'd have a sip of water, like one little sip like that, and I would get the urge to go to the washroom, and I would start going to the washroom. The washroom is like 10 feet away from my kitchen, and I wouldn't be able to make it. Like I'd be like, oh fuck, and then it would be like, it would just let loose. It would be everywhere. It didn't matter what fucking time of day it was, because for like 72 hours, it was like uncontrollable, and I was so embarrassed because I'm like, babe, I need your help. She's like, it's like 3 in the morning. She's like, what? I'm like, I just need your help right now. Please just wake up and come help me. Because it was like on the walls. It was fucking in the crevices of stuff. And she's like, obviously fucking puking, right? And I'm like, I need your help with this because I just can't be on my fucking hands and knees cleaning this up on my own tonight because I will lose it. And she was like, she was losing it. She was like, how the fuck are we going to deal with this? I'm like, I don't know. Just help me. And she was like, I think I got to take you to the hospital. I'm like, no, because if we do that now, that's it. And that means we're throwing in the towel. I'm like, we will get through this. We will get through tonight. We will get through tomorrow. And I'm going to show up at my best. I'm not giving up. And she was like, okay, but if it happens again, I'm taking you to the hospital. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to fix it then. Like, I'm not going to let this happen again. And somehow, I fucking, it healed a little bit, just enough so that the next day it was okay and I could make it. And then it was like, it was still bad, but it was like one thing at a time, one just putting these pieces together. And I would wake up in the morning and I would send Dorian my check-in, and somehow, some way, I would look better. And I'd be like, fucking look better today. Thank God. And that's all I needed to like keep moving forward. I was like, the next day, I didn't sleep all night. I'm up every 45 minutes. I'm up every half an hour, all day, all night, every 30 minutes. I'm in the washroom. And then I wake up the next day and thank God I look better again. And just every day, again, look better, again, look better, again, look better. And then people were saying, they're like, hey man, this guy's starting to look pretty good. And I didn't want to be like, yeah, I'm dealing with this shit though. I was just like, let's keep the confidence up. Here we go. Now we're fucking whatever. It's like 10 days out or we're whatever, how many days out. Let's just keep the momentum going, the positivity going. Let's forget about the negative. And then even when Natasha is like, how are you right now? Like, how bad are the symptoms? I'm like, let's ignore the symptoms. Let's not talk about the symptoms. Let's focus on what are we excited for today? What's the positive? Like, how's your day? What are you excited for? What are you training today? Like, let's just ignore all that stuff, because talking about it, it just puts you back in that mindset. It's like, yeah, I'm shitting my pants again today, babe. It's like how much blood is there? I'm like, you know what? Let's not talk about that stuff because that's not making me feel good. So let's just talk about stuff that makes us both feel good, and let's just reduce our stress. Let's just try to. So we did that, and again, it's like the saving grace was like, I'm looking better. I'm looking better, and Dorian's like, fuck, man, you're looking good. Let's just keep going. I'm like, okay, here we go. So another day goes by, another day goes by. New York was a struggle though, because we didn't figure out um, enough about the foods that I couldn't eat yet. So I did a food sensitivity test, but it didn't come in until after New York. And when I was there, I was getting help from Phil Viz, which bless his soul, the guy's an angel because he helped me a lot. But he's trying to learn my body in like 24 hours. And I'm trying to tell him like, hey man, I got colitis and I'm stressed out and I got injuries and this and that. And he's just like, holy shit. But he helped me the best he could. But I wasn't feeling my best. I was anxious. Like, this is a big stage. I didn't feel like I was bringing my best, and that was the source of like my discomfort, right? So even backstage, kind of like we had like a three-way conversation going. It's like Phil's like, he looks like this, and Dorian's like, okay, do this, and Phil's like reporting it back to me. So it was kind of like a game of broken telephone. And even though we did the best we could, man, like I got off stage and I was like fucking eighth place, like again, like that's like Like, why can't I just get better than seventh or eighth? Like, that's fuck, man. Fuck. I fucked this all up, man. Like, my body fucking failed me and I fucking failed and fucking, I was like, yeah, I had a couple hours where I just lost it. I just fucking cried and just fucking feel miserable for myself. And all right, fuck it, whatever, man. Like, tomorrow's a new day. Let's just wake the fuck up. Let's get back home. Let's just regroup. Toronto. All right, Toronto. So then there we are. We're getting ready for Toronto, and you know, I realized that I had to really communicate better because there was a point where I was like, I really knew that I had to stop taking orals because they were contributing to this massively. And I kind of started to voice them like, hey man, like, you think we could reduce the orals, or hey man, you think we could kind of change the orals, or hey man, this and that. But without Dorian knowing how severe things were getting and how I really, really needed to stop them, it didn't get until the point where it was like, bam, now it went back to how it was before, the loss of control and the this, and it was worse. It was like worse. And I'm like, oh God, like now I gotta tell him like I can't. I literally can't because as soon as I would take an oral, it would like happen like crazy and it would just flare like this is like I'm gonna die today. Like this is but but I didn't let myself go there. I was just like, okay, I need to tell him definitely we need to stop this. We need to do this. And he was like, okay, I'm listening now. And I was like, okay, we've actually now gotten to a point in the relationship where I think he trusts me more. And because of that, I feel more comfortable being vocal about the things that I need to change or to do to be my best. So it all was positive. I was just, what's the positive here? What just like with your situation, what's the positive here? What did I learn from this? What am I learning from this? What is the value
You
in
have to
going
be
through
that way,
this?
man. Because like, what's the other option? Like that's
Yeah,
what that's what I had to have that discussion with myself very quickly after Toronto, right? Because I was upset and like I had a lot of people that came out there to see me. Like,
yeah,
like it was like all the Jack Factory people were there. Like it was, that was hard, right? But
yeah,
I knew that I could, in my mind, well, and I've been through a lot of shit in my life. Like I honestly have, like, and I've been lucky that I've had a mom that had also been through a lot of shit in her life.
yeah,
And she never let me quit anything. And my mom will call me out for being a pussy. Like my
yeah,
mom will just call me out, like, man up, because for the first 12 years of my life, I lived with just my mom and my sister. It was like a single mom, and it was hard. We didn't have a whole lot, and we had to depend on each other. So there was a lot of times where I was a young boy, but was like exposed to like adult things, right?
yeah,
Being
yeah,
I was dragged around by adults everywhere, like, that was my life. So, and my mom being there, and I got to see her, like she came right back like after prejudging to see me, right? And like she just like looked at me, right? And it was just, she didn't have to say anything, but it was just like, get it together,
yeah,
right? Like we're not about to lose it, right?
yeah,
And then, but she knew I was pissed. She came back to the hotel with me and we all had a talk about what happened. And, I just kind of had my rant about what went wrong, right? And then it was like right away, she was like, well, how much time do we have to look better for the night show? Right. And then
yeah,
she was like, get to eating, get to drinking. Right. And then from there, it's like, and then all we talk about that whole evening is how do we fix this for the next one, right? Like
yeah,
what are we gonna do about it? Like,
yeah,
no bitching, no moaning, like let's just fucking go,
yeah.
right? And
Like you said, right? You're either gonna complain or you're gonna change.
well, what are you gonna, yeah, exactly, what are you gonna sit around and feel bad for yourself?
Yeah,
Like what's that gonna do? Like
yeah,
what, how, like you're like, this is not it for me. Like this is just one showing that people are gonna forget about. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and if anything, it just sets up for a comeback. Like, you know what I mean? But it's
yeah.
like you just have, like, or else you're just wasting time, man. Right. And
And this is bodybuilding, man. This is
yeah, dude, shit happened.
bodybuilding.
This
Yeah,
has happened to so many guys, man. And
yeah,
one thing that I think about, and shout out to Jay Cutler for putting this out so often. Like I recently heard him talk about this on a podcast again, but his first pro show, New York Pro or Night of Champions back then, he got last place. And he said he wanted to quit bodybuilding that day. He
yeah,
said he just thought he was worthless. Right. and then that he became Jay Cutler. Like,
And that's it, dude. And I think the important lesson here is you're allowed to feel those feelings
yeah,
because we put so much everything into what we do. You're allowed to have emotions,
yeah,
but like you said, you're allowed to have that time where you feel your emotions. And the important thing, really, and I kind of made a post about this, is sometimes you let your emotions slip on stage, and that means you're not emotionally fit enough yet to handle it because your time to be emotional is when you're back in the hotel room with your mom.
mhm,
That's the time to let it out.
mhm,
That's the time to express your emotions. When you're on stage, you're a professional bodybuilder. It
yeah.
doesn't matter if you got fifth place when you thought you deserved first. You don't take that medal off. You don't bitch and start acting like a dick to the other guys who beat you.
Did anyone do
You
that at Toronto?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there might have been one guy who didn't get the placing he wanted, and he was kind of really upset, and it was apparent.
Okay.
Um, and I'm not going to say names because it doesn't matter, but I'll tell you later. But
Yeah.
but really, it's like you're a professional, and part of this sport is you have to increase your fitness, your emotional fitness, to be able to handle what happens on stage when it's stage time.
Yeah,
And
dude.
there's no throwing medals backstage, and there's no being a dick to the people when they say good job, man. Like, listen, everybody's upset if they don't win. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody's perspective is different. Let's not say that, but everybody feels an emotion. Every bodybuilder feels a lot of emotion when things are over and when things have come to this climax. And that's normal, and that's part of it, and that's actually part of the reason why we love bodybuilding so much is because we get to thoroughly feel emotions that are deep, and
Yeah,
that's a
dude.
good thing. It's a healthy thing. But
Like, unless you do this, like, there's so many aspects of this that people just can't even fathom, like
yeah,
the level of intensity of
yeah,
emotion that we feel towards this, because our entire life revolves around that moment where we walk out on stage and prejudging. Like
and
everything we do, I've structured my whole entire life to be able to be in a position where I can walk out on a pro bodybuilding stage at my best and earn money doing this. And
yeah,
from the emotions of just walking out there, being in your head and wondering while you're going through your poses, like, am I hitting this right? Like, like you're trying not to sweat. Like there's just like so many things, right? And then like to go from that like high and level of adrenaline to then like walking off stage and not knowing how you place or thinking you did good or thinking you did bad. Like it's just a freaking roller coaster, man. Like,
and it's not up to you at that point. It's not
yeah,
up to you, and it's never ever up to you because you can only control what you can control, but you
yeah.
cannot control how the judges view you in that moment. That's up to them, and that's why it's scary, right? I mean, that's where the fear comes from is we
Well,
want
dude,
to be
think about it.
accepted.
Like, think about the effort I put into that prep.
Yeah.
22 weeks leading into that show.
Yep.
And in the last 2 hours, we kind of fucked it up.
Yep.
It's, but that's a game and it's okay. Like I've ate that and moved on from it. Right. But,
Yeah.
and like, so like, I just think people need to just imagine that. Like, imagine you spend 5 months getting ready for something and like everything is going real well until the last minute. Like,
And you know
no
what
matter
I think
what that
about
is, it's
too.
going to suck.
You know what I think about too is I think about because we're athletes, we want to go to the Olympia. But think about the Olympic athletes who trained for 4 years for one event. Could you imagine if we prepped for 4 years to do one show? Because we get to do a show like we can do one every year, we can do multiple a year, but they only get to do one competition every 4 fucking years. And
Yeah.
if they fuck that up in the last 2 hours, could you imagine? Could you imagine, bro? You prep for 4 years and then you fuck up like that? You like it's four fucking times the emotion.
Well,
You'd be
you
like
see
ready
them.
to commit suicide after that.
Yeah, like I remember watching the Olympics and like I remember like I haven't watched it anytime recently, but like younger, it seemed like it was a lot more of a big deal to watch. And you would see athletes like that would get like second or third place or get like injured and just be devastated. Like
Yeah.
fucking you have to drag them off the field. Like
It
they
was,
would just
yeah,
be they couldn't even accept it. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And now, because of the level that we're at and what we do and how long we've been doing it, I get it.
yeah, exactly.
I get it. And like, to feel a win, like that's the next thing for me, right? It's like I remember like winning my pro card, like that's all I chased for so many years, right? And like when I felt that feeling, it was like I wouldn't trade it for anything. I honestly wouldn't. There's no
It's the
amount of money,
best. Yeah,
like no amount of, I don't care. Like I don't care. Like that was the best feeling ever. And now I'm chasing that again, but to win a pro show.
exactly. Yeah,
And this is what I live for. Like trust me when I say, like, if you're watching this podcast right now, like I live for that feeling, and like I will not stop until I feel it. Like that's what matters to me in my life. That's number one priority. Everything else is on the wayside. Like nothing will get in my way. Nothing.
most people will never understand that, but for maybe like the 0.1% of people that listen to us, who maybe they're chasing their pro cards, or maybe they're pros, I don't know, but or maybe they have other things like that they're striving for, that's, the same kind of, in their perspective, the same type of goal, on that same level of goal. They're working so hard to give everything for it. It's the only thing that matters to them. Only then are you going to really know why we do what we do.
Mhm.
But we chose to do this because we love that feeling. And that's why we're going to get there, because it's that important to us. And we will give anything and everything to make that happen, to get that feeling again. And we know it doesn't matter to anybody else, because that shit is so fleeting. It happens, boom, you get that win, and then, the next week there's another pro show, and now they're talking about someone else. But for us to feel that feeling, it's worth every single fucking ounce of effort, every sacrifice, every minute, everything, everything. It's worth
Well,
it.
it's all that work being validated.
Yep.
It's all that work being, rewarded and validated, and knowing that everything you did is what you should have been doing.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for what we put in, and the pain we go through, and the emotions, and just everything, what we put our family through,
Yep.
like to get that win makes it all worth it. And like, that's why losses are so devastating, because if you feel like you put all this stress on yourself, all this effort in, you had all the support from people, and when you don't get the result that you kind of you set an expectation for, you feel like you not only failed yourself, but you fail other people, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that they don't feel that, most those people don't feel that way, but we just put that on ourselves, because that's our nature, right? Because
Yeah.
the same support that we take from them that drives us is the same support we're going to carry with us when we fail, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
It's still going to weigh on us the same way it supports us. It's going to come down with us, right?
Yeah.
So, it's just but it's all a beautiful thing at the same time, man. Like
Yeah.
the fact that we just get to do this and feel this, and there's nothing else I'd rather do in my life. I'm just excited to keep going and just get better. Like that's the only thing I'm looking for. Like, not the only thing I'm looking forward to, but I'm just like, that's number one right now, right?
That's the next thing. Yeah. And,
Yeah,
dude, I'm excited for you, man, because I know it's only up from here, right? And fuck,
yeah,
man, like, just with the size you have, you're gonna fucking crush the people at Vancouver, man. That's guaranteed, man.
yeah. And I've made some really significant changes in what we're doing. Like, I'm not gonna like get into the details of it or anything like that, but like I'm like pushing it up a few
Yeah.
notches here. Um, so that's exciting. Yeah, for the next 5 weeks, just to see what we can do from here, right? Like, see how much improvement we can make, because that's what it's about. Like, I like, not a great placing, but like, it leaves room now to see like what kind of impact can we make. Because like, I'm not coming out here now saying anything. The only concern I have is bringing my best package to Vancouver to show people what I'm capable of. And as long as I do that, wherever I land, I will happily accept.
Yeah.
Right.
And you will.
But yeah, I just want to show people how much better I can be. That's all I want to do.
Yeah. Yep. I felt like that for Toronto too, and I think that's why it happened, right? Because then you're not so focused on the placing or the number or the external. That's more of an internal feeling. Is you showed up for yourself the way that you could, so that other people can see that you're better, and that you will be better, and that you're getting better, and that you will always get better. That's what the sport is about. It's not even about the placing. Because if you won first place at the show and you weren't your best, it wouldn't even feel that good. It wouldn't even feel that good. It's
No,
only
no.
it's only because you know that you showed up at your best, despite whatever happened in the past, you showed up at your best on that moment, in that single moment. That's what it comes down to, man. That's
I'm
why that's
glad
how
you said
proud I
that
think.
too, just about where your mindset is, because I think like again, like I mentioned that before, but like my mind the last 4 or 5 weeks of that prep was skewed. Like I was focused on call outs and placings and like I just I think I almost had myself on a pedestal or something. I don't know if I bought into my own hype or I
I
was
was
certain.
like that too. I was like that too
Yeah.
for New York. I
Yeah.
spent a lot of time just visualizing being called out into the center for the first call out. I spent so much time visualizing that when it didn't happen, I was crushed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I spent like I thought it was gonna happen because I visualized it so much. Like it doesn't work like that.
No.
So going into Toronto, I was just like all I did was spend time being like, I'm grateful for showing up at the show. I'm grateful for being part of the show. I'm grateful that my body allowed me to show up today. And I
Yeah.
would just keep focusing on that. And I forgot about the placing. It didn't matter to me anymore. I was just like, I'm grateful that I'm going to make it. I'm grateful that I'm going to be part of this awesome fucking event. I
Yeah,
am
dude.
grateful that I'm going to have everybody there. I'm grateful that I'm going to see my mom. Like, it was just like, went back to gratitude instead of like, I
And
need
dude, it's
this.
just so crazy that you're saying this to me right now. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to because
No,
like you experienced what you experienced in New York, and like you had this mindset shift, and like I experienced what I experienced in Toronto, and I'm just like having the same mindset shift. Like everything you're saying is just resonating with me, like and where my mind is. Because now that's all I was thinking about in Toronto was like, where am I going to place? Like I got to get next to Ian, like all this shit, right?
yeah,
And now my only thing my brain is, and it's like I don't even have to focus on it. It's just I need to show up to Vancouver at my best.
yeah.
That's it. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. I don't give a shit who's competing. I don't care about anything else. Like I'm even to the point now where it's like I don't even care to like really post anything on social media. Like I'm kind of just like I'm ready just to like can't like push everything away from me. That's a distraction. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like that's just like how focused I am on what I know needs to happen. Right? Like fuck
And
all the bullshit. You
and that's
know?
why they say, you know, failure creates champions, not winning.
No, so true.
So sometimes failing is the best thing that could ever happen to you, even though it feels like
Well,
shit
I'll
in
say
the
this
moment.
too. Back in 2021, man, the first show me and Ron did of that season, we fucked up,
Yeah,
right? And then 8 weeks later, we made corrections and we won nationals. So,
that's it.
you know, that's it.
Fucking right, man. Man, I'm so fucking hyped for you, man. I kind of wish that I could keep competing, but I'm also very happy that it ended for me the way it did
Yeah.
because I think that if I didn't show up better, I would have really had a hard time like calling the season. But because I was able to show up the way I did, I'm just like I'm in awe. Like, how did my body do that
Yeah. It's
with all
crazy.
this shit going on? I'm just like, wow, I'm really grateful for that. I'm okay with hanging it up now. And I didn't really have a choice because if I tried to keep pushing it, I would have just fallen apart. So now I have this check here on my wall, and I'm just like I'm grateful for that, man. Like it could happen, and it felt like I won the show. Like I didn't give a
Dude,
fuck.
you did win because you
Yeah,
improved.
exactly.
Like, that your last year of off season that you did now just put you in you got fourth place at a very tough show. Like, which means that there's other shows that have happened and that are going to happen that if you brought that physique at, you probably would place even better.
Yeah,
So now you're a first call out guy in these level shows. Another improvement season, like you're going to be fighting for wins.
yeah,
Like that's just how it goes. And you know what you got to do. Like you know what you need to do between now and the next contest prep season. So it's
yeah,
just execution. Don't get injured. Stay healthy.
yeah,
Handle your business, and you're competing in for W's.
yeah. That's it, man.
You know.
That's it, man. That's what we're going for. So yeah, now right now, like I'm in like what I'm saying is like this is like my healing phase. Like I'm so focused on healing my body. Um, my past self really would have been so like obsessed with like eating food post show, but now I'm like, it's not even an option for me. My body can't even handle it. So there's no way that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna eat junk food. And I think that for one is gonna be one of the reasons why I'm gonna be a lot better, a lot healthier mentally in this off season because I really, really honestly realized that even though it's something as simple as having a burger and fries, because I have celiac disease for fuck's sakes, that when I do that, I get inflammation, and that inflammation in my gut brain axis causes me to have anxiety and depression. So all this time, every off season, I thought that something was wrong with me, that I needed like some kind of like therapy to get through this mental health stuff. Now I realize it was just the food that I was eating because my body can't process it. Other people can. I can't. So I was looking at, well, everybody else is doing it. So it should be fine if I do it, right? And I would just always justify it like that. Well, these top guys are doing it, so why can't I? And almost like wishing like I wish I could be like them. Guess what? We're all not fucking the same. We're all different
Yeah,
in so
life's
many
not
ways.
fucking fair, buddy.
Yeah,
Sorry to tell you.
fucking tough luck. And guess
Yeah,
what? Some
shit
people have it
sucks.
way fucking worse. We think that when we're going through stuff, we think this is so terrible. Man, this is like the worst thing that could ever happen. Guess what? Someone's fucking worse than you. Look at the wheelchair athletes. You ever think you're going through some tough shit? That one girl who competed in wheelchair, she her body is so, I guess, like her autoimmune disease is so advanced. She can't eat more than like 13 grams of protein per day. And we're over here like, oh man, like fuck, like it's
Well,
like,
that's something I had to do a lot in my prep because I was dealing with my leg injuries, man. Like I had
yeah,
constant. It was my hamstring at 9 weeks out. It was my fucking calf at 6 weeks out. My quad at 4 weeks out. And the only way, like that was tough, man. And again, like going back to like you with your colitis, this is not near as bad. I'm not
yeah,
saying it is. I would much rather deal with my fucking leg, but it's still like it does like it's all relevant because it still wears on my mind because I'm like my
yeah,
legs are my body part. Now I can't train. Like
exactly,
I didn't squat or
exactly.
leg press for the last month of prep, right?
And that's why we got to remember it's like it's all perspective.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
all
but
perspective.
I constantly that's what I was going to say is I would
Yeah,
just constantly say to myself, well, at least my quad tendon's not tore. Like, you know
exactly.
what I mean? At least I don't have an upper body injury where I can't train my upper body. Like, at least I can still do leg extensions. Like, that's
Yeah,
just what I keep telling myself. Like, I can do something that's going to allow me to get to the stage. Like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? Like, it's not bad enough where I got to shut it down. Right. So, yeah. But like you said, like those, if you let those toxic thoughts creep in and, it's going to have a way more detrimental effect than just like the thing that you're dealing with itself. Right.
you either complain or you change.
Yeah.
And when you're forced to change, you're forced to get better because you have to now think. You can't just go back to what, well, this is just what worked for me and I just mindless training. It's like now I have to think about what I'm doing. Now I have to create a new plan for myself. I have to actually connect different parts of my brain that have never actually worked together before. And you're like, here we go. Now I'm evolving. Now I'm becoming a new version, like new Moe, new Robin. Like, hello, here the fuck we are now because we were challenged by things that forced us to get better. So anybody listening to this, if you're going through something challenging, if you're in a position where you're scared, that's how you know for sure that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
The
You're coming out
challenges,
the other
the
side.
yeah, the challenges in your path are the path. That's the path. The challenges that you are faced with, that's the path.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm off the path because I've been faced with this. No, that is the path.
It's good for people to hear us talk about this stuff, right? Because I know, and I can tell just by the way some people have talked to me and like asked me about the show and stuff. Like, people assume that like I'm like crushed and defeated, and like I didn't get what I expected, and like I'm probably just like sobbing, like and again, like I said, I had my moment, right? It
Yep,
was very short, but like I just want people to know that because of like how long we've been doing this and what we've been through, like we've both lost lots of shows. Like, you know
yep,
what I mean? Like,
fuck yeah,
yeah, like our mindset is just to focus on getting better. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want people to think that I'm feeling bad for myself or anything like that. Like, you know, like after that moment I had, like, that's done. Like, it's like, it's not the type
You get 5 minutes, right?
that's
You get
not the type of
five
person
minutes
yeah.
to feel bad for yourself, and then get your fucking ass back up, stand up like a
And
man.
I make a point,
Yeah,
like you can, like, I could listen, I could have sat there for hours and felt bad for myself. I wanted
yeah,
to,
yeah,
but I just know from past experience that that is not acceptable. And there's people around me that I don't want them to see that. Like, I want them to know that I'm strong, and I'm strong for them as well, right? Because I
exactly.
don't want them to feel bad that I'm feeling bad. Like, I'm
Man,
like, I'm
I'm
good.
so
Like,
glad
after
that
an
we
hour,
have.
I'm like, I'm fucking good. Like, let's go. Going to finals. After finals, we're gonna go have a bite to eat. We're gonna have a great night. All positive. Like, let's fucking go.
I'm
Right.
so glad we have the same mindset, man. Because these conversations are they're helpful for me. I think they're so helpful for people listening too. And
Yeah.
it's like that is the key. It's like this is bigger than us, man. Like
Yeah.
we're doing a lot of this shit just because we want to do this. But like you said, it's like we need to show up for the people that are in our fucking system, like in our support team. Like we need to show them like nothing is gonna break us. We're gonna get stronger because we want to be strong for them too. And that
Yeah.
makes them stronger because then they know, like, okay, like Mo isn't fucking fragile. Like I don't have to baby him. If he's in a if he in a, is in a if he is in a situation, he is going to get stronger because of it. And then people don't have to worry about you as much. But
Yeah.
if you always break down and you're always like crying and it takes you fucking days to get back, people will realize that that's your character and
Yeah.
that
They don't want
you're
to. Nobody wants to support that, because then you're just
nobody
supporting.
wants to support that. Nope,
You're
nobody wants to
supporting a
support that.
crybaby, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, so, and even people just to see us, like, you know, because there's people that watch this podcast that like look up to us and stuff like that. Like, you know, we get messages and everything. And I think it's good for them to know, like, you know, when we are going through shit, and like
yeah,
how we feel after a show,
exactly.
and you know, how we feel when we're going through an injury. Because, you know, a lot of these guys are living the bodybuilder lifestyle too. They're coming up through the amateur ranks, and they're going to feel those emotions at some point.
Yeah,
And, you know, you just need to know that it's all part of it. And what's going to make you a good bodybuilder is just being able to get through that shit and not quit, and just always just look to learn from these things. And like we said, like, don't get upset, like, you know, at a show. Like, don't be that guy. Like, always be professional. You know, always just hold yourself to that level of accountability of just like being positive and being better. Because if
yeah,
you just always have that mindset, oh, it pays off so much, man. You know, because how many guys do we see, especially coming up through the amateurs, man, that guys that had all the promise, and then but they took a couple losses, or they got a second place when they thought they should have won. It literally just makes people quit.
yeah.
Like, you know, and it's like, but
It's
if you
the
just
quitting,
take
right?
that and
Yeah,
take that and use that as fuel, like right now, like how fired up and motivated I feel, like, if like you can use that energy, like you can, like, that can be very negative energy, or you can take that,
yeah,
man, and it can push you so much further
dude.
if you let it.
I love that because it's like the more that I read and the more that I learn about this stuff, like that's what alchemy is. You can take negative emotion, transform it into positive emotion. And it's like, fucking like the back in the day where you get like this piece of metal and you transform it into gold or whatever the fuck. Alchemy, right? It's like, well, energy isn't created or destroyed, but it transforms. And we all have the ability to do that. We're all alchemists because we can do that. We can even take a positive emotion, turn it into negative if we wanted to. Fucking
Yeah.
stupid, but people do it all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's like you give
Yeah.
someone a compliment and they're just like, no, no, like, and they just turn it into something negative. You're like, what the fuck are you doing with this positive energy? You're just
Or even when
right.
people see someone do good and it makes them feel bad, like, you know
So
what I mean?
true. Yeah. You
That's
start feeling
bad.
jealousy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, man. Exactly. Like that is so valuable. So valuable.
Right.
Dude. This podcast is worth fucking $1 million. So
Yeah.
yeah,
This is mental jewels right here.
dude.
But
Fucking I
but
wish
it, again, like, it's a this that like, that's why, like, we knew we had to do this podcast, even
yeah,
though we knew that it was going to get deep and it was going to be emotional, and we both had to avoid it for a couple of days because we just
yeah,
like weren't really there. Like, that's something, again, like, that's something we should share with people. Like,
yeah.
me and you we're talking about doing this podcast for a few days, and we just had to put it off because, like, just weren't really ready to talk about this stuff, right? But yeah,
Just
when
takes time. Yeah.
like, you know, people are going to get the real raw stuff when that's why it's so cool we're doing this podcast through our career, because it's like
Yeah.
we can do these shows and tell people exactly how we're feeling and what went down behind the scenes and everything like that. And then, as we keep going with this, hopefully soon we'll be talking about like what shows we're winning and like what we
Exactly. Yeah.
in and like how we feel
Everything, right?
to the Olympia the first time, so that's what's going to be cool about this going forward.
The good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. It's good for us to be vulnerable too, because we learn about ourselves, we learn about each other, we learn from each other, and we share that with others. And actually, I have to go to Washington, so I got to cut this pretty soon. But
Yeah,
I,
it's
I
okay.
wanted to say just the last thing is what you were saying is being strong for other people. Because now that I've talked about having colitis, and now that we've talked about having injuries, you start to realize how many other people have had injuries that made them quit. How many people that I realize now have colitis that might not even believe that they can make it to the bodybuilding stage, but because we shared, hey man, we had this hamstring injury, had this bicep injury, had this calf injury, had this happen. All these things happen. We did not quit. We
Yeah.
made it. We showed up. And other people that are like going through, oh fuck, I had this injury. Do I have to stop my prep? Or hey, I've developed this IBS or this colitis. Am I even going to be able to be a bodybuilder? Fucking yes, because we are the examples, and we're not the example of the ones that quit. We're the examples of the ones that made it, and that's why we do this. That's
Yeah.
why we share this, because that gives other people power. And dude, that's the best part about it.
Yeah,
So
dude. And
yeah,
pro bodybuilding is just so fucking hard. I can guarantee you, every single person you see on that stage has been through some goddamn shit, man.
yeah,
Like we all know about Hassan Mustafa's diet stories, man. Like Ian Valier's another guy's been open about his mental struggles. Like
yeah,
even the top guys, man. Like no matter how good you are, where you're placing, like this is always hard, right?
yeah.
Like we're all going through
And
this
it
stuff.
just gets harder, and you're only going to get stronger because
But we
shit's
love
not
it.
going to get easier.
We love this shit.
Fucking right.
All right,
Fucking right, man.
I gotta go do some trend.
All right. I'm going to take a shit.
All right.
All right, bro. I love you, man.
I love you too, buddy. We'll do another one soon.
Sounds good. All right. Keep killing your prep, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, everyone, like, subscribe, ring the bell.